Festival, and we are talking about the student film, short film called Self-Conscious. We have the writer, director, and editor right now here with us, Ava Lerner. Ava, congratulations.
Thank you.
This is such an honor getting to interview you. You have two films in the festival this year. How does it feel to have two films at Garden State Film Festival?
It feels really good. Having recognition and success as a filmmaker before college is really a big deal for me, and it gives me confidence that I'll be able to find success as a filmmaker the rest of my life.
Oh, you absolutely will. What like a strong start to your career, and it's only going to get better from here. So amazing. Congratulations. Tell us about Self-Conscious, please.
Self-Conscious is a film about a girl who's in high school and she has this boy in her class who she wants to be friends with, but she's very scared and self-conscious about what everybody is thinking about her. So she's scared that this boy doesn't like her and that she's not going to be able to become friends with him. But when they start working together on a project, she starts to have a little bit more confidence and realizes that he's not judging her and nobody else is judging her as much as she thinks that people are judging her.
How relatable. I know instantly I was like, okay, I've been there and I know what that feels like. Not even just liking someone, just anything, being self-conscious about anything. And I love the tool you use to kind of peer into the main character's thoughts by using like a voiceover. Tell me your inspiration, not only for writing this film, but the way you directed it, like having that voiceover over the film. What was the inspiration?
So the inspiration for the film was that we were making it was the summer before I was going back to school after spending a year online for virtual learning. So it was gonna be my first year in person for high school. And so there was a whole other middle school of kids I'd never met before. Plus there were kids I hadn't seen in over a year other than online because we were virtual. So I was feeling really stressed and scared about going back to high school and trying to make new friends and reconnect with other friends and find even just a place to sit at lunch. And just be okay socially. So it was my way of expressing that through this film and reminding myself of my hope and belief that people aren't judging me as much as I think they are. Because I think that that's true, is that everybody's always in their heads about what other people are thinking about them, but really nobody's judging anybody else as much as
Yeah.
they're judging themselves. And everybody's thinking more positively about people. So that was my
Mhm.
inspiration. And I decided to do the voiceover when I was writing the film because I thought that it was going to be the best way to understand the anxiety and stress and relate that anxiety and stress that the main character Mia was feeling during the film to the audience.
Wow. Yep. And I love what you just said. Just to reiterate, nobody is judging you, especially not more than they're judging themselves, because, and you see that in the film. So, what a beautiful message. And you have another film in the festival, Not Okay. And we have this film. And it seems like both films are like come from personal standpoints. So, I would love to ask if like you're gravitated towards writing things that are really close to you.
I am. I think writing what you know is a really good way to go about writing films. I also think that for me, when I was writing those films, the easiest way to come up with an idea without having to do like a lot of research, especially for like what the scenarios were, was just being able to write about things that I knew about. And I also like being able to express myself through film. So that was another reason why I'm writing about things that I connect to, because it's a way to express my feelings and emotions through filmmaking.
Mm. And what was the writing process like for this film, Self-Conscious? Did it take a long time? What was that writing process like?
It was actually pretty easy. When we got the assignment at the camp, I came up with an idea pretty quickly. It was just an open assignment, write about anything. And because I was dealing with the stress about going back to school, it came to my head pretty quickly that I wanted to do this. And then once I had the idea to start out with a voiceover, it really, like, the whole idea came to me. And then I just started writing and it came really quickly. And it was really easy process.
Oh, and your cast, how did they hop on board? You have a wonderful, they're all amazing, but you have the main character, Mia. Is that her voice that's going along with,
Yeah.
is that the same actor? Okay, so how'd you find this great cast?
So she was in the camp and she really liked the script when we read it. And so she put on like the voting slip that she wanted to play the main character if we did the film. And she did a really great job and it was really good. And I think that it was a good casting because she was really excited about the project and was also really able to give a good performance as Mia.
Absolutely. Shout out to all those wonderful actors. So you were there, as I said, you wore many hats for this film. You were writer, director, and editor. So you're there for all of those, the
Mhm.
pre-production to the filming process to post. Is any of those hats your favorite? Did you like any of those processes better than the other, like pre-filming, post?
So I really like writing and directing. I'm not sure if I could pick one that I like more
Mhm.
because now I've experienced what it's like to write a film and not direct it, and to direct a film that I haven't written. So I
Right.
like that I got to write and direct for this film, but I'm not sure if I could pick a favorite out of those. I like that when I'm writing, I'm building this whole world and I have all this freedom, and I like the way that I can express myself through writing films. But I like when I'm directing that I get to take something and bring my vision to it and
Mhm.
figure out how I want to do things and be in a leadership position. So I'd say I really like writing and directing. I also like editing, but I don't like it as much as the other two, probably because sometimes it's a little bit stressful since there's so many options for how to do things. And I feel like there's more pressure because sometimes if you like cut to a certain take, it can end up lowering like how funny a line was or something. So I still enjoy editing, but I think it's a little bit more tedious than the other two
Yeah.
jobs.
Totally agree. Were there many different versions of this movie? Like, were you in the editing room like, "All right, there's this version, but I also like that one." Like, did you have any alternate versions?
I think there were certain takes that we tried. My teacher was like, I like this saying that he told me, which is like a lot of things. A problem that new editors have is that they don't try enough when they're putting a film
Mm,
together, and so then they miss things. So we were trying to do a lot of different things and figure out how to do it without losing anything continuity wise. So we didn't like edit whole versions together and then have different versions to choose between, but there were certain takes where we spent a decent amount of time
mm.
deciding whether it was better to cut to this shot or to a different shot. But this film was also a little bit more simple with the types of takes we had, so it wasn't too like overwhelming.
Mm. And how was coming up with the shot list? Did you know were you very prepared so that when you were filming, you knew exactly what angles, what shots you were taking, or was a lot of it just kind of in the heat of the moment, like, oh, this might be interesting if we film it from this angle? Like, did you have a set shot list before you started filming?
Yeah, we made a shot list before we started filming, and it was my first time because this was my first time directing. It was my first time coming up with a shot list, and so I felt like with this film, it didn't make sense to do a bunch of really like dramatic shots or like harder to do shots. Like sometimes with films, it's fun to do things that are a little bit more complicated. And I just didn't think that this film lent itself to doing anything like extreme. I felt like keeping it pretty simple with having like close ups and two shots and wide shots on the characters. I think that the only two like somewhat different shots that we do is when we have like a zoom in that we used a dolly for, and when we do the whip pan in a certain part. But otherwise, I felt like it made the most sense to keep this pretty basic. And so when we were going through the shot list, I was trying to see if there were any like cool shots that I wanted to do. But I felt like keeping it simple was the best for this film because it's not like I think it would have made it more convoluted if we had tried to do a bunch of
Mm.
different complicated things.
Spoken like a true director. You know what benefits the story, and I love that. And I'm glad you mentioned that whip pan because I appreciate it. I love a good whip pan.
Thank you.
So great job. And so we had another interview earlier today where we talked about Not Okay, and we kind of touched on why you started filmmaking and what stories you really are attracted to telling, and what inspires you. But I'd love to know about the future. Like, what are your future goals? As we talked about, you're 16, you're starting your career off strong, you're just starting to make and direct these films. What does your future look like, or what do you hope for?
So I hope to go to a good filmmaking school for college. I have a whole list. I'm in that process now as a junior of getting like my SATs together and stuff to apply. I hope to become a writer and director and work in the industry as an adult and be a filmmaker. And I hope that I just am able to continue my passion with film throughout my life. And I think that that's my purpose. So I hope that I get to fulfill it as I get older.
Oh, absolutely. You will. I have no doubt. And good luck with this, like searching for
Thank you.
colleging. As you can tell, I did go to college surprisingly, but I know it's a hard process and it's a little challenging. So good luck with that. And I'm sure
Thank
you'll get
you.
into any school that you're hoping for. So I'm rooting for you, Ava.
Thank you.
I'd love to ask you, what keeps your passion ignited? Like, what inspires you day to day?
I think I'd say two things keep my passion ignited. I think the first thing is just going through life and experiencing different things. I was over winter break, I was realizing that I always like to tell my friends these little stories about like little funny things that happen. And so I realized that those are really things that I could end up using in scripts one day. And I think also just experiencing different stresses and anxiety throughout life is an inspiration for me to then be able to express myself. But I think the other big thing is just watching different TV shows and movies that are being made, because one of my favorite things to do is watch them and analyze them and say, oh, I think that the way they did these shots were really cool, or I think that the way they're writing this script is really cool, or the way they're telling this story. And I think those two things keep my passion alive and keep me really passionate about filmmaking.
I love that. And you mentioned like something that your teacher in the school said, but I'm wondering, just from making these films so far, and you've been to film school, is there any advice that you've heard that stuck with you, or anything you learned from making films that you'll bring on to the next film? Like, what's
Um,
most important that you've learned so far?
Yeah. When I directed this film, I it was my first time directing, so, like, it was really overwhelming. I think I've learned a little bit more about the technical side of filmmaking with, like, different lenses and stuff like that. Another piece of advice he gave me, especially when I was, because 'cause I'm directing teens, is just to always keep the energy up and be encouraging, and I think that that's really important because it's exhausting to spend all like, a whole day making a film, so I think staying positive and keeping the energy up is another important piece of advice that I've gotten. I also think that coming into a film with what he called a lookbook, which is just where you have other pictures from other films. And it's like, I want to try to create something similar to this. So when I directed a different film after I directed this film the following summer, I came with like some pictures from, it was a horror movie, so from other horror movies, and it was like, this is what I want to try to put together. So I think having like visuals before you make the film to try to then recreate was also helpful.
Wow, very cool. I love a good lookbook. And I mean, that's amazing that you also directed a horror film. And this one is very comedic and relatable. And then Not Okay was, more of a drama, I think. So do you have any like favorite genre or a dream film that you can direct?
Well, I'd really love to direct a superhero movie one day. I think that would be really cool. I really like the action genre because I think it's a good way to. They always end up being funny, but they also
Mhm.
have the drama element to them. I'm not super big in horror in general as a watcher, so it's not like my goal to become a horror director, but like I
Mhm.
wouldn't say no if the opportunity presented itself. But I think like I want to be able to direct action movies, but I also want to be able to direct like dramas and comedies in general.
Oh, absolutely. I love that. Never say no, getting your
Mhm.
feet wet and everything. But I hope to see the superhero movie that you direct one
Mhm.
day. That will be fun.
Yeah.
So, just to wrap us up, we talked about in our last interview how you heard about Garden State Film Festival, but I really like to just reiterate, what does it feel like to have two films screening this year at Garden State Film Festival? And yeah, how you feeling about that?
It feels really good. I'm really proud to have two films in a film festival and to have that success before I even go to college. It's really empowering for me and it gives me confidence as a filmmaker. And I'm really excited to see my films play on a screen in front of an audience and be there again, because that's really exciting for me.
I love it. And I mean, I love that you're proud of yourself, because that's so important. I think as filmmakers, a lot of the time people are hard on themselves, or like, oh, I wish I could have done this. But just like taking a step back and being like, dang, you made two films and they got accepted into film festivals. So you have every right to be proud of yourself. And I'm super honored to be able to interview you and
Thank you.
to have people come see these films. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Let me tell everyone watching how you can see Self Conscious and Not Okay. They'll be in the same block. It'll be playing Saturday, March 25th, 9:30 a.m. to 11:45 at Kingsley Ballroom. So definitely check it out. You will see Ava there because she'll be there,
Mhm.
and definitely congratulate her if you see her. Thanks so
Thank
much
you.
again for taking the time out. Congratulations, Ava.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.